Today on the Diz List, we list all the things we wish Disney World would bring back.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that lists everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 105, where we list all the things we wish Disney World would bring back.
We'd also like to thank all of you who are listening to each and every episode. You know who you are, and we do too. We kind of took different paths on this episode.
Yeah, so...
We just accidentally discovered it.
Yeah, so every time... Nick and I will either have a conversation in person at work, but we weren't really at work because we're on summer vacation, so we're just kind of texting back and forth about stuff, and there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, and we'll get to this in a minute, but we were talking about how Genie Plus is going away, sort of.
Sort of. Genie is staying.
Correct. Genie and that service is staying.
Correct.
But they're essentially changing the way...
Lightning lanes.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're going to get to that in a minute. But before that, we were kind of discussing, I got a text from Nick, whatever day that it came out. He says, they're doing away with Genie Plus. And I'm like, oh my God, no way. So we were at a retirement party. We talked about it a little bit.
Yep.
And sort of discussed it. And then Nick sent me a message the other day and he says, hey, let's just talk about things that are extinct that we wish would come back.
Yeah.
So... You actually interpreted it a different way. It's kind of cool, I think.
So I interpreted my point as being like things that Disney used to offer, perks, some of the things like that. Now there is an attraction sort of on my list, but you interpret it as attractions.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like kind of an interesting episode for folks who are listening because it's going to be bouncing back and forth between things that are actual rides that have went away and things that maybe from your more recent memory have gone away and you're like, yeah, why in the hell do we not have that?
Yeah.
Some of what I have on my list was done away with under the auspices of it's COVID, so we have to.
Right.
And guess what? It's not back and we're post-pandemic at this point.
And some of the attractions I have on this list, I actually had to make a phone call. I'll get to that later. I had to find out if I actually did this thing or not.
That's funny.
Yeah, so we'll get to that later on.
So let's talk about this idea of what kind of started the idea for this show was the whole rebranding of Genie Plus.
Yeah.
You know, in a perfect world, we could have called up your Scouts Rob and been like, all right, man, we're doing a show. We need you because you're the expert.
I actually thought of that too. It's funny you say that.
But
because I sent him a message on Instagram and I'm like, Rob, I can't wait for this video. And honestly, I mean this. His video was so thorough.
And quick. It came out like 20 minutes later.
It was like, it's the one where he was sitting in Liberty Square or something.
Yeah, it started getting dark and stuff.
Oh my gosh. Like it was so thorough. And he was saying things, like I thought I knew it from talking to you and looking stuff up. He was saying things that he must have read on like Disney's website.
He said he went through the fine print.
Yeah, he knew things that I didn't even think of at all. So
suffice it to say, that was a 30-minute video-ish.
Yeah.
We are not going to do a 30-minute opening for this show, so you need to go watch that episode.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Please support our friends at Ear Scouts, Eric and Rob. They do such a great job. So we are not going to answer all your questions and explain the whole thing.
We couldn't possibly.
We're just going to have fun and talk about, our reactions and do our lists here. But please support our friends and go over and watch that video. We're watching them right now in the studio.
So I just want to say that essentially, just for those of you who don't know what happened, essentially Genie Plus, which was a day of purchase, has gone away in lieu of 7 days if you're staying on property, 3 days if you're off property. Prior, you can purchase Lightning Lane Multipass, which gets you 3 Lightning Lanes in a tiered service.
Which is similar to the old school.
Well, it's not just similar. With the exception of the number of days, it's exactly Fast Pass.
Yeah, right.
And then,
which I really liked.
And basically, individual Lightning Lane has now been changed to Lightning Lane single rides, Lightning Lane, whatever the name. I can't remember what it was.
Lightning Lane for singles.
Yeah. Yes. Swipe right.
That's not real, folks.
Yeah. I mean,
And probably individual. No,
Yeah.
it was individual before.
it's
I
not
think it's
individual like
single and multi.
whatever it is.
Watch Rob's video.
Yeah. Watch his video. The rebranding of it is just to be more consistent. It makes sense to rebrand it.
Yeah.
I never understood the Genie Plus was Lightning Lane, and then there was a free Genie service. Whoever was in charge of that branding
It was so
did a really
goofy.
really bad job branding
From
it.
the day one, everyone went, "This is so confusing."
Right. I mean, I personally like the old system, so now let's talk about like our reactions to what's happening.
Yeah.
Because that's what people really care about from us is they don't get
Well-
they know we're not gonna be able to explain it like Rob. So like what's your reaction?
Well, from the lens of our show, the other thing that you and I discussed that I'll share with our audience is that I said, well, this is going to be interesting because you're going next week
Yeah, I leave in less than a week.
and you're going to go on what we're used to using, Genie Plus, and those rules will still be in effect when you're there.
Correct. The 2-hour rule will be in effect.
Right.
I can stack all these different things.
And I'm going at the beginning of August. So I'm going to be experiencing the new multi-pass Genie Plus, which we'll get. We may even get them for all days. Well, who knows? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I may just for research purposes for the podcast. Who knows? Either way, it'll be interesting getting to experience that, and then we can compare and contrast
Yes.
what we thought.
So, personally, I think the idea of the bringing back the pre-purchase thing is great, especially for individuals who are
Planners?
planners and like to budget,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can know ahead of time. I think it's a definitely an advantage. It finally gives staying on property something back because 30 minutes. I mean, you're getting one attraction done, maybe, and you might not even because like when I rope drop early Hollywood Studios, where do I go? Well, I'm gonna go over to Rise of the Resistance, and without fail, it's
The ride is down.
Yep, and then you leave, and you are entering the, Millennium Falcon's queue with everybody else who is actually at the park.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it. I'm glad I'm going underneath the new rules though,
Well,
or under the old rules though.
the new tiers are interesting too, because they have tiered rides where there's a tier 1.
But they had that with FastPass. They did.
They did?
Yes. They had it with FastPass.
I guess what I'm speaking about specifically is that you can get 1 from this column and 2 from the other column. Oh yeah, I do remember that.
That was the same. Yep.
You're right.
Yeah.
I guess my point is this. And when you said that, I was thinking the Genie Plus service. And I'm like, wait.
No.
So I was thinking the wrong
old
thing.
School,
you were
old
right.
school.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do remember the tiered. But seeing how they tiered them out, Hollywood Tower of Terror is a second tier ride now.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. So you can go on and do your
Hollywood's-
selections for Lightning Lane that day.
Yeah.
You can pick a big dog in tier 1, and then your second ride you can throw Tower of Terror on there.
Hollywood Studios.
fantastic.
Hollywood Studios, actually, when you look at their tiers, they are probably the best park to purchase. I still think they're the second best for Genie Plus, but they're the best park, I think, when you look at the tiers for bang for your
Yeah,
buck for
agreed.
Lightning Lane Multipass.
And
Because
their
of-
rides are
because
great.
of that.
And we talk about this a lot on the show. If you're a longtime listener, you know this. It's our least favorite park, but that doesn't mean we don't like it. There's so much about that park that we like, but if we stack them up, it's the one that just ends up at the bottom. So I want listeners to understand that. We're not anti, because there's people locally who listen who will come up to me and razz me about, oh, Hollywood Studios is great. I'm like, it is great. We know it's great. But like, it's like, I can't say you can rank your kids. I love all my kids. Let's say students. And I'm not doing that either. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But there's 4 things are great. Okay.
Okay.
And this one just happens to be at the bottom of the 4.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's hard to describe.
Yeah. But I think the other thing is people who love Hollywood Studios and people who come up to us locally
Yeah.
and say that, because he's not wrong. People who listen locally and know us are like, why are you always hating on Hollywood Studios? It's not that hot. I want to turn to them and say, yeah, because your kid missed the second week of February because you took him out of school to go. I can't do that. Like, Rob is laughing right now, but guess what? He's laughing so hard because I'm 100% right.
Oh my God.
But it's right.
Hold on, I'm gonna start coughing now. That was okay. And we're back. And
Right?
we're back. Yes, that was funny.
But that's true.
Yeah, I know.
Like, if I could go in February and September and like, oh, congratulations, you're back from, you had one day off for Veterans Day. Oh, you got one day off? No, we're going to take the whole week and go. Well, yeah, if I went in November, I might enjoy Hollywood Studios a little more too. But when it's hot as Hades down there in July, like when I go next week, it's going to be like 100. So it is what it is.
I don't know if I told this story on the show. I may have. I don't know if I have or not, but I got in trouble once for going in November.
Oh, yeah, that's probably why you were laughing a little harder.
Yeah, I got called in. to the administration's office. They were not. Yeah,
you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, I know.
But it is what it is. What I would say is that the reaction I have right now for the Lightning Lane tiers is it's actually going to be beneficial. What Rob said in his video that I think he's assuming was an oversight that I don't think is an oversight was that Disney did not list any meet and greets.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't think that's an oversight. I think they're going away from that. That is a huge win, folks, because if you don't have Genie Plus, if you don't have a Lightning Lane, and somebody else did prioritize meet and greets with Lightning Lanes,
you won't meet Mickey.
Correct.
Yeah,
because it's an 8 or 9 to 1 is what the ratio is with Lightning Lanes entering. So,
and speaking of which, apparently what we're hearing is that there's a lot more characters roaming the parks as if they're Disneyland.
Yeah, I've heard that multiple times. And I'll also throw in there another announcement we got this week that Rock and Roller Coaster is opening a month early. And it's still Aerosmith.
So you'll get to ride it.
I will get to ride it. It's still Aerosmith.
I made a post on some Disney social media, not Disney's, but like a
creator.
Sure, a creator's thing about great ride. Just got to get rid of Aerosmith, and I ignited a fire.
Oh, really?
Yes. No
way.
And it was but it was both. Like there were people that saying, yeah, Aerosmith's old and sad, get rid of them. And then people would come back and say, Aerosmith sells out stadiums. They're still relevant. And then somebody comes back and says,
they sell out stadiums to 55, 60-year-olds.
60-year-olds. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. But I definitely ignited a fire. It was funny. It was kind of like I walked up with a baseball bat to the hornet's nest and beat on it and walked off.
Walk off?
Yeah. It was great.
That's funny. Put it this way. I read that release that, hey, it's opening July. Well, it's supposed to open today because we're recording this July 1. They said it was opening early. I'll believe it when I see it. I haven't looked today to see if it's up and running. I'll pull up the wait times right now.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, I read it. And so my wife had a friend in town this past weekend who we don't see often. She flew in from Atlanta. And she goes, does this still have Aerosmith? And I go, yeah. She's like, why?
Yeah.
This is somebody who has nothing to, like, this is not somebody, that was unprompted. Why?
Yeah.
How are they relevant? And I was like, exactly our point.
I have seen them in concert once.
Because
they toured with Kiss, and I'm a major Kiss fan. So I was just there while they were playing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool things that are coming back. So in the second half of the show here, we're going to look at some stuff that is coming back as well.
Okay.
Or that not coming back, but that we want to come back. But before we get there, we're going to, shout out our patrons over at patreon.com/thedislistpod. If you sign up to be a patron, you can sign up as a free patron. We get more and more free patrons every day, which is great. And they get notified when we post something. But if you sign up at some of the other levels, you can get early access to new episodes as well as bonus content, basically an extra episode every week.
Yeah, we do 2 episodes every week.
Yep.
And you get access to those episodes and lots of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. This week, we want to thank our newest patron, Randy D., as well as a longtime patron, Rachel D. So I just wanted to shout out 2 people. We kind of said that last week. We're
Great.
going to start doing that. But thanks, guys, for being patrons and being loyal. And we'll talk to you after the break. So, welcome back. I'm a little bit taken aback. I know that wasn't the way I'd normally welcome us back. However,
welcome back.
Yeah, I was looking on the Disney World app.
Yeah.
Guess what's closed for a moment? Rock and Roller Coaster.
And it was supposed to open today, correct?
Yep. I don't know if it even opened. It's 9:45, so it's definitely the park's open.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I dreamt this. Did I dream this? No, of course not. It's on all the websites that's opening today.
Maybe it was a nightmare.
Well, dreams.
No, I like that ride.
Nightmares are dreams too.
I know. We get heat for hating this park. Again, I love the park.
I think that ride's good.
Yes.
I can't believe that it's been shut down for twice in the last 2 years for 6-month clips, and they can't figure it out.
I'll end with this, and not end. I'm not ending. I will end this part of our conversation with this. Anybody that has been to the West Coast, and I know I talk about this a lot, and Nick's laughing because I do, but I just loved it out there. I loved it. So any listeners that have been out to California,
if you love it, why don't you marry it?
I'm already married. I love my wife.
Sorry.
Well, the California parks they're a close second to my wife. My wife still wins
today. Sorry.
It's kind of like a Patreon episode.
Yeah.
Plug. Anyway, so Disney California Adventure and Hollywood Studios are so similar, but if you go to the one in California, you'll go, oh my God, this is what the environment needs to be at Hollywood Studios in Florida.
Yeah.
Like the Pixar Pier, everything about it.
Look, I don't disagree.
So,
anything.
Listeners, if you agree with me, send us a message and tell me you agree with me. If you've never been there, you can ignore me or go to your travel agent.
Notice
and book something.
He doesn't want you to tell him if you disagree. He just wants the.
No, I'm okay with that. No, I'm fine with that. You know that.
All right.
Okay.
So this is going to be kind of a weird, disjointed thing because we definitely took 2 different takes.
I love it,
and that's fine. It's great.
I panicked at first, and I went, no. If I'm a listener, and I went a long, long time ago, and I went on some of these attractions, I'm going to be like, all right, I remember that. That's cool. And then on the same token, you're doing a totally different thing. We're not going to overlap. Hopefully. Maybe.
There's one that I could see possibly overlap.
All right.
So why don't we just kick it right off? What do we got?
Sure. Number 5, I know I did this, and I have some memories from it. I was actually going to go and watch through this whole thing, but speaking of which, Hollywood Studios, at this point it was MGM Studios, it was the Backlot Tour.
Oh, yeah.
So the Backlot Tour, and obviously it's just a response to what Universal Studios was doing, because they did that first. They're the originators of that. And MGM was just kind of a response by Michael Eisner to what Universal was doing. And it makes sense. I totally get it. But there were a lot of things that were really memorable about that Backlot Tour. But the most memorable, you're going to laugh, the most memorable part of the Backlot Tour was seeing the Golden Girls house.
I think you mentioned this once on the show before. Yeah, seeing the Golden Girls. Yeah,
we were so excited. We're like, oh my God, that's it. Because that's the shot they use for the exterior of the Golden Girls. Takes place in Florida.
Yeah, it's perfect.
But there were so many other cool things to the Backlot Tour.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You drove by, the planes that were in movies and all kinds of just props and things, and you go and it's a tram that's similar to the parking tram is the best way to describe it. Mm-hmm. And again, that's how Universal Studios does it. But I think something like that would be really cool and really easy to do. Think about it. Think about the archives that they have of all these great things from the movies through the years, or taking anything from a set and just taking an area way in the back that they have extra space that they can use to expand and creating something nice and long, even maybe not as long as the safari, because that's really long. I know Nick's laughing over there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, think about how many people you could have on one of these trams at a time. You could time them just maybe a minute apart each one, and you load up a ton of people. There's one driver, one person is on the mic. similar to Jungle Cruise, only have 2 people, and then let's say you have 3 or 4 full cars. Think about how many people that's going to service.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm going to point out that Disney doesn't do anything that doesn't make them money.
Yeah.
And if it's a behind the scenes sort of tour, guess what? They're going to charge for it.
Yeah, you're probably
They're
right.
going to charge for it.
Well, kind of like the behind the scenes tour.
Yeah, they charge for it. They charge.
No, I know. I'm not doubting that they charge for it.
No,
I'm thinking of the logistics behind it.
I don't.
You are right, and they would charge for it.
I don't disagree that it'd be cool. I'm telling you why you won't see it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I guess I just wish it would come back because I have fond memories of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they need to make money, or whatever, more money is what they want, and that's why I believe my number 5 won't come back. My number 5 is something that went away during COVID, and I'm not really sure why. I think it needs to come back for a couple reasons, but what I'm talking about is Tables in Wonderland. And I don't know if you know what this is. It was a thing you bought where you could get...
It was like a discount.
It was like a discount card kind of thing. And think of it as like a dining rewards, if you will. Except for the rewards weren't you earned points. It was that if you paid up front for the Tables in Wonderland card, you got a discount at restaurants.
Which is worth it if you eat there on a regular basis. So I don't have to tell the math teacher how that works.
I mean, it would. I did the math. It would pay for itself for my family every single trip. It would have paid for itself for the Tables in Wonderland card.
But a family like ours that are a quick service family,
no,
we definitely not. But it would benefit certain people like you.
Well, right, and it would benefit. I believe it would benefit Disney. Right now, I'm not the only person who's recognizing that table service restaurants are down. It has been said that table service restaurants are operating somewhere around 50 to 65% capacity right now.
And they're speculating that a lot of that is because people's money are going towards services like Genie Plus and things like that. So Disney's still getting the money, but it's going to a different place. The problem is that they have to pay all those servers, and it's a giant footprint.
Yeah. And I will throw in the fact that the other reason why I think people are not doing it is that you have not dining, is that you have the inflexibility of these virtual queues.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't know what if I get my virtual queue for Tron and it happens at the same time as my Jungle Skipper?
Yeah.
Now, will cast members help you out? Absolutely.
Yes,
they will
and
help
you have
out.
a great story from that.
Yes. However, just because cast members could doesn't mean they have to.
Right.
And a lot of people don't even know they can go and ask that.
Right.
So what do? They just don't make the reservation, and then it's like, well, I just had a snack. I don't want to sit down and have Jungle Skipper when I just had this. I paid my $15 for a half a cheeseburger egg roll, and call it a day, whatever. To me, Tables in Wonderland is something that would benefit Disney. It would benefit the people who buy it. You could make it exclusive to Florida residents. You could make it exclusive to Florida residents and DVC like it used to be.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
That's what it kind of used to be.
Yeah.
I don't care, but I do think it should come back. And I think it would be beneficial, especially for these people who are eating there. They're creators or whatever, eating there all the time.
What was the discount? 15?
I think it's 10.
Okay.
It was 10.
I don't know why I had 15 in my head.
So, I mean, look, it's a small one. That's why it's number 5 on my list. But Tables in Wonderland, I think, should come back.
Okay.
So, all right, what do you got? Because I know that we're not going to overlap.
No, and this is another attraction that I would love to come back. I was a little sad when this ride went away. It's not Mr. Toad. He's looking at me like you're going to talk about Mr. Toad. Maybe. When this ride went away, I was a little sad. But the new ride that took its place is great, too. And that ride, again, is an MGM Studios original, and that's the Great Movie Ride. So with Disney acquiring all these new properties, okay, the whole Fox catalog, right? Lucasfilm, okay? I don't know legally how it would work with Marvel, but imagine doing another version of the Great Movie Ride, but now you have access to so many, like such a vast catalog, because I know that there was like licensing things that they had to do, especially with like Alien was part of it. But now Alien is owned by Fox, and you can watch the Alien movies on Hulu. My son and I watched one the other day. So I just really enjoyed that ride, and I liked the fact that we could go through and see such a variety of different movies and just cool animatronics. And I love animatronics to begin with. So, I mean, have you gotten to go on that ride? Did you ever get to do it?
No.
Okay. So for you, imagine going on, we'll say Spaceship Earth, right? Mm-hmm. So you're enjoying it. You're seeing all these great scenes, but each one of them, you got Indiana Jones in one scene, and then it's the Wizard of Oz in the next scene. It was very, very cool.
I've seen ride-throughs. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I believe Disney really screwed up because Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway makes zero sense in the Chinese theater.
Yeah, you know where it makes perfect sense? Mickey's Toontown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits perfectly next to Roger Rabbit, and yeah.
It would even make sense in Fantasyland if they had added something in Fantasyland.
Yeah, I know.
It would have made more sense for them to redo Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Honestly, like there's so many other things that they could have done, but the Great Movie Ride doesn't make sense to have used that space for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Or why couldn't they put Mickey and Minnie? Oh, because they're using the same track layout. Yeah. That's why. I was going to say throw it in that building where they have the launch bay, Star Wars launch bay. Like there's so much real estate over there.
Their original reasoning was we need all this space for the sets. But then you look at the size of the show building in California and you're like, did you really need the Chinese theater?
And it's all just projections.
Or were you just trying to shoehorn something in really quickly? I think that's what it was.
I like the ride.
I love the ride too. I think they screwed up with location. Yeah. The ride is super important to keep. It makes Hollywood studios more tolerable for little kids because outside of that and
Disney Junior.
They got the Disney Junior thing, and they've got the
Frozen sing along,
the alien swirling saucers. But outside of that, like it's not for really little kids. There's not a ton for them. Yeah, and so because Hollywood Studios is definitely the teen park, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't disagree with you. I would love to see them bring that back. Where else could they put it? If they built a new one.
The problem is they're taking over. They're doing the Spirit Halloween.
The Spirit. It took me for a second. I'm like, wait, what? They got bought a Hall, and then
the Spirit
Halloween goes into the stores.
I'm assuming that's a national chain. Spirit Halloween, for our international listeners, it's a Halloween store that when any business goes out, we'll say a Target or a Walmart or something. Yeah. Walmart won't go out of business, but
TJ Maxx.
Sure, perfect. TJ Maxx goes out of business. There's a giant empty building. It ends up being inhabited around the fall with Spirit Halloween.
Pretty much every blockbuster, with the exception of one in the United States, became a Spirit Halloween at one point.
Yeah, anyway. So your question is, where would it go?
Yeah.
I just don't want to Spirit Halloween it. Like I would want to, if that's a term we can use now, I'm kind of making that into a term.
That's fine.
But I think you break ground and then, I mean, I don't know how much of that is zoned properly because I know how zoning works, but I don't know the way that it's zoned for attractions. Matters. Like if you put in a new attraction, do you have to add in, because I know like you do a parking lot, you have to put in like an area for drainage. I don't know that world as well.
The civil engineering side of things.
Where would I put it? I would put it way over by like Tower of Terror in that area, Old Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
I think that would go great. Like that area.
There's space.
If you go to the right for Tower of Terror and you go to the left to Rock and Roller Coaster, go straight. Like, you know what I mean? That area back there.
Yeah.
Because there is a place you can go back there, but I don't think there is anything. What's beyond that?
I'm not sure. Honestly.
To answer your question, I would put it there.
Yeah.
So that's my number 4.
Beyond what? What were you saying? Beyond?
So are you looking at the map?
Yeah.
So there, to the right is Tower of Terror. To the left is Rock and Roller Coaster. Beyond that is the Cars, the Lightning McQueen thing. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, I don't know if there's space or not.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like
to the north.
doesn't appear. There's some space behind Twilight Zone. I'm looking at actual Google Maps so I can actually see.
Right.
It does appear like there's some space behind Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror, but
I think thematically it would work, especially back in that old Hollywood area.
Yeah,
next to the Hollywood Tower Hotel.
I don't see why I wouldn't. Yeah,
I don't know. It's Hollywood Studios. You know, it was MGM Studios before that. Let's go back to some more, older properties. Why not?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it.
Educate the youth.
Speaking of old things that need to come back, this is an old thing that I've never experienced. This is something that maybe this is the only spot where we could potentially overlap, I think. And it is the Main Street Electrical Parade. The Main Street Electrical Parade needs to come back.
I agree with you.
And I have it at number 4, but Rob does not have it at number 4 because he just read his number 4.
No.
But
no, that is something very special to me.
Okay.
That I will talk about later.
Okay. But the Main Street Electrical Parade, I mean, I've never even done it, and I've got a shirt of it. Like, so
it's magical.
Yes, I want it so badly to show back up. I love the kitschiness of the water pageant. So the electrical water pageant is amazing. It's one of my favorite parts of staying at the Poly or staying, on the water there. I'm sorry, but they've got to bring that into the park. There's not a nighttime show. And I will just pause and stop and let it go. So
who
Rob,
cares?
No,
I can reorder
go.
here.
No, go. No, it's okay.
Okay.
Rob's going to save it for later in the show.
Yeah.
And he'll discuss it.
That's a lot later in the show.
A lot later in the show. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it should come back. We'll hear more later.
So my number 3 is a ride that I definitely did, and I definitely remember this, and it was a huge part of the Magic Kingdom for years and years. It's also part of Disneyland, but they ended up turning it into a Finding Nemo attraction, and that is 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah.
So I would like to see it come back, but I would like to see it in a different version or a different iteration where it looks like, so here's my plan for it. It's going to be similar to Star Tours, okay? A simulator. So what you'll see is there will be similar to what was before. So if you don't know what it looked like before, it was a movie from, I'm going to guess, the 60s. I'm going to guess that's when that movie came out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's about this ship called the Nautilus, and they end up going to battle with a giant squid or an octopus. Oh my gosh, why can I not remember?
It's a squid, I believe.
It is a squid? I think you're right. So for the ride, what you did is you went into this individual Nautilus, and the thing was like, it was kind of scary to get into. It was like getting in a submarine, and you literally go underwater, and they do a little loop while you're inside this Nautilus, and it's very claustrophobic. I remember it being really hot in there.
That's why that's
hard to see because it was so hot and so steamy in those things.
So you did not have me. I was like, no, this is not a good idea. Up until you said,
change it,
put it as a simulator.
Yeah. So the way I see it is you enter in the simulator, which can be in the water. I don't know. I don't know the logistics behind it. And then you go into like an underwater cave type situation, right?
Yeah,
so you only really see the entrance.
Yeah.
Then when you go into the cave, the video starts, and all the portholes and the area in the front are all screens, and it's simulated where you're, kind of going underwater and in this like beautiful underwater world. And then at the end, you can do something a little bit more interesting with, battling the squid or whatever. And I just thought it would take up less space, I feel like. I'm not sure how it would work. I guess it would have to be as similar to Star Tours as possible. So maybe the outside is underwater, and maybe you don't get in the cars. You like get into this underwater.
I think you.
I don't know.
I think it would make sense to like walk in
to a building that
into a building, and when you walk in, as you're walking in, you're walking by a body of water that has what appears to be the ship you're about to board.
Yeah.
And then when you get inside, you're at a quote unquote docking station.
Right, like they do with Pandora.
And the door opens and you walk into this creaky old, submarine, whatever. It closes and then the screens do their job, and that thing moves around, whatever.
And they have 10 of them.
And you're like, wow, was I the one in the water, or was I not? Whatever.
I think that would be fantastic.
But I don't hate that idea. I mean,
it'd be fun to bring back.
Anytime you can go back to classic stuff, I think is important.
And I think you can update something classic to where it's going to appeal to the nostalgic group, like myself, and the younger crowd. So you can combine both of those things together and put little nods, because like the fish, when you were in it, they were like these little like plastic quote unquote animatronic fish that would like wiggle a little bit.
Yeah.
It was very
Somebody
cheesy.
standing underneath it with like a popsicle stick on a cardboard fish. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So that's my number 3 is 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
So as we said, with the disjointed nature of this particular episode, because of our misunderstanding on text, that has actually been a happy accident. I feel like we're Bob Ross today. Mm-hmm. You're wearing a Mickey Mouse artist shirt today.
Oh yeah, yeah. Bob Ross always talks about the happy accidents, and I like the way this is going so far.
So my number 3 is something that I experienced on my first trip, and only my first trip, and that is package delivery to your hotels.
Oh, right.
And I'm not talking about like, okay, I order something on Amazon that gets delivered. I'm talking about, I don't want to have to carry this thing around the parks, so I'm not going to buy it. So here, I get the logistics of you have to employ somebody to do it. But in a world where, in Orlando anyway, I can order anything I want on Amazon in the morning and get back and it's waiting for me at the front desk, how can Disney, in their own property, right? There's not an Amazon warehouse on Disney property. On their own property, they can't figure out how to do the same thing with their own products. Is beyond me.
Yeah.
Like, it, even if it was next day delivery, I mean, Amazon can do it the same day, but even if Disney did next day delivery to your, and you couldn't do it on your last day of your trip, okay, big deal. Right? If it was next day, what's the big deal? Like, I can remember we went into a park. It was, we even got the lightsabers, not the really fancy ones. This was
the create your own,
right? The ones outside of Star Tours.
Yeah.
Okay. And we got something else there. Whatever it was, doesn't matter. We bought stuff. We gave it to them. They put it in a bag, put it in the back. That night, I go over to I think it's Moana Mercantile. No, it was Boutique is where the pickup was. So downstairs at Boutique, walk in. Hey, I've got a package that should have been brought over here. Oh yeah, sure. Let me go back and find it. Comes back out. Here's your package. There you go. And I didn't have to carry it, and I didn't have to worry about it being stolen off the back of our stroller. I didn't have to worry about carrying it into restaurants. I didn't have to worry about my kids deciding to start hitting each other with their lightsabers in the middle of the parks. None of that. Not that they would, but you know what I mean. Like, all these things that you don't have to worry about now. How many times have you seen a kid drop a brand new souvenir or like something like that, and it breaks, and it's like, it's not on Disney, man. But at the same time, they should get with the 21st century.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a third-party service where I can order a lot of the same merch, by the way. If it's not Disney Parks exclusive, I can order it off of Amazon, and it can be delivered before I get back to my hotel. That you're telling me you can't do that?
That's impressive.
So, yeah, I think they need to bring back the package delivery to hotels. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me why they have it. And I'm not the only one. I've heard on multiple podcasts people talking about how they don't understand the logistics.
It's got to be on a list somewhere. They just haven't gotten that far down the list yet.
Is it though?
I don't know. Like, I'm hoping.
I gotta believe they would sell enough extra product that people would be that their workers would be paid for. You know what I mean? I gotta believe they'd sell enough extra, but maybe not. I could be wrong. So that's my number 3. What do you got for number 2?
My number 2 is a ride that meant a lot to me when I was really little, and that ride was around for a long, long time until I think the late 90s, and then they decided that Winnie the Pooh is going to take its place, and that is Mr. Toad. Now, the thing with Mr. Toad is I couldn't remember if that ride was actually good. I just had that memory, that nostalgic glimmer in my brain that I loved Mr. Toad when I was little. I thought I did. And then when we got to California and they still have Mr. Toad at Disneyland, it was okay. Let's see if I can put my money where my mouth is. Is this really as great as I remember?
And it is.
And it is.
Yeah.
And the proof is not only for me, but the proof is my kids and my wife, who had never gone on it. And they come off the ride and they go, okay, that was really cool. And I'm like, good. I felt relieved, like I have anything to do with it,
Right.
other than the fact that I thought it was awesome. Like, and I would sing its praises. So I was crossing my fingers that they would enjoy it. Now, my short description of why it is so fun is because it moves fast, not relatively fast, but there's all these quick turns and the doors go flying open. It's a dark ride, but it's a wacky, fun dark ride. It's a little different vein than Snow White's Spooky Adventures or Peter Pan's Flight, which is going to close down, by the way, for refurbishment.
Yeah.
I won't get to go on it. I think you will.
Yes, I believe I will.
But compared to your typical dark ride, it's a hoot. Like, it's a lot of fun. And then you die and you go to hell at the end. I mean, what's not fun about that?
What's not Disney?
So the plans for that exist. So Imagineers can just take it, copy, paste, and put it in the back corner. Here's where I want it to go. I want it to go in the back corner over by all the circus stuff. I think it would fit really well back in that corner. Still kind of Fantasyland, but right on the border of the wacky stuff that has to do with the circus. So I would put it back there in that area. It's a great ride. It wouldn't cost them a lot to do, to bring back, and I think it would really do well with the younger crowd.
By the way, I just looked up the Peter Pan's Flight. I
saw you make a face.
Yeah, I thought it was closing the week after I'm there. It's closing the day after I arrive.
Oof.
And my first day, so I'll be there the first day of the closure.
And it'll be busy.
Probably. It is what it is. So, whatever. For me, and we've talked about this ride in the past, and I've said, if I miss it, I miss it. That's overrated. It's on my overrated list.
Yeah.
It's just one less thing I have to check off the list. One less thing. My number 2, again, is not a ride or an attraction. It is a perk. Not even a perk. It is something they've started to do, and a theme that Disney has started to do at their restaurants that I think they need to stop and go back to a different way. And that is, I want to see a return to non-prefix menus. Okay?
I knew you were going to say that.
If I want prefix, I'll go to a buffet. I don't get this idea of having a prefix over at California Grill, having a prefix over at Cinderella's Royal Table, prefix at Be Our Guest, prefix over at basically Ohana. Like, you name it, they've got them. And it's like,
But it's not any cheaper either. That's the thing.
oh, why would that's why they're doing it this way, is to make it more expensive.
Yeah.
They're not stupid. They make more money on it. I know what they did or why they did it with California Grill, but they need to do something else. Comedy clubs have, it's a 2-drink minimum, 3-drink minimum, whatever the case may be, right? Have some sort of a minimum for California Grill.
Yep.
Look, you can come up and get a reservation for fireworks viewing and buy your coffee, but your coffee is going to cost you $100.
Sure.
Do that, because the reality is, if I go up there, I'm going to spend that $100 pretty quickly. So if you have a $100 deposit and that $100 deposit comes off of your bill, but the minimum you're going to spend during dinner hours is $100 for let's say for a 2-top, $200 for a 4-top, $50 for one person, whatever the case may be. That, to me, because what they did was they got sick of people going up there to have their coffee and
watch the fireworks,
slice of cake,
Yeah.
and watch the fireworks, when I would have wanted that reservation with my family of 4 and spent a lot of money. So now it's okay. Well, you can come up, but it's going to be a prefix meal, and you're going to spend the same amount of money as everybody, no matter what you get.
Yeah.
So if you're getting the chicken, that's one thing. Steak, that's another thing. They're all cost the same, and it's like, I don't want to do that because I might not necessarily want to have an appetizer per person at our table, or maybe I want 2 appetizers per person, and we're going to share a steak, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing over at Artist Point. Artist Point, I love that place. I love the character interaction. It was a great meal. The food was very good, but there's no reason why a veal shank, like all day braised veal shank, costs the same as a roasted chicken breast. Like, there's no sense, right? One's $1.19 a pound.
Yeah.
One is not. And it just doesn't make sense to me that that's the same. But that's another example of a prefix. You can get prime rib there. The kids pay the same amount of money. They can have mac and cheese, or they could have a mini like sirloin steak.
Oh my gosh!
Like, that's not the same, but you're paying the same money.
Wow.
If I want to do prefix, you know what I would do? I'd buy the dining plan. I don't want to do prefix.
Yeah.
Because the dining plan is prefix. That's not what I'm doing. So my number 2, and it's a big pet peeve of mine, is get away from this prefix. Bring back non-prefix dining to Disney World. Make it great again.
See, for me, I like to avoid that kind of stuff because part of that is not only it's a food allergy issue, but part of the fun is having the excitement of having a choice. You still have a choice. That's the thing. They give you a choice. Yeah.
The problem is that your choice costs the same no matter what.
Yeah. That's goofy.
It's very goofy. It's very goofy, and it shouldn't be that way. So that's my number 2. What do you got for your number 1? I know what your number 1 is.
My number 1 is the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yep.
Now, they brought back the Main Street Electrical Parade to Disney World for a very short period of time. And it just so happens that we were there at that point. So my kids were young. They actually got to see this. And it was so exciting to see it again. Everything about it was I always look at my own kids because I talk about this all the time, especially this episode, is just because it's nostalgic to me doesn't mean it's actually good. Like, is it really good, or is it just cool because I liked it when I was little? And a lot of things at Disney could be looked at that way, but they loved it. Everybody loved it. I mean, there's a lot of certain things that don't really relate to our current Disney characters. Like, there's a snail, a turtle, and then you have Elliot from Pete's Dragon that comes out, right? All those things are so cool to see, and they're on these like little cars that spin. It's just so much fun, and I don't know. I love the music. I love everything about it. But then I look to the kids, and I look everybody around. The kids haven't seen it. The kids have no idea what it is, and they loved it. And that, to me, is the litmus test that says, okay, yes, this is something that is actually legitimately good. And
look, it is as nostalgic gets, even if you weren't present for it at the beginning.
Yeah.
The sounds, the lights. Okay, I want everybody who's listening, and this is not religion dependent. Think about the holidays, and what do you think of? Christmas lights hanging on people's houses.
Yeah.
What do you like? I can remember my family growing up. We would go and drive around different villages in the area to go look at the Christmas lights. There's in cities like Syracuse. I'm thinking of that park, the one on the water.
We've done it many times.
You go and you drive
lights
through
on the lake.
Yes, like it just brings you. I don't know what it is about lights, but like they just bring something out in people, and it's like, oh, this is so cool.
And the music
Yes.
is so
Yes.
good.
100%.
So if you don't know this, our theme song to our show is heavily influenced by the Main Street Electrical Parade song. Mm-hmm. So when I wrote the theme song and kind of came up with it, that was the goal. And I said that to Nick. I go, look, I'm going to do an intro, and it's going to be kind of like in that same vein, that same style, but I'm going to do my own melody to it. And that's why we've stuck with it the whole time, is because it's just has that feeling of magic and Disney, and I just love it so much.
That MIDI feel. If
It
you know
does.
what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So this is the one thing that I've never experienced that I know for a fact I would love.
Oh, definitely.
Solely because of the way I feel about the water pageant. And it's the same thing. It's like, look at these lights. Isn't that so cool? And it's so analog. In a world full of digital, it's so analog that it's great. I love it. And I think that's...
And the irony is the music is so digital.
Right, yeah. But you know what I mean when I say analog, right?
I do.
It's
of course.
In a world full of screens and projections, because Disney World is full of screens and projections.
Which is fine, but you like to have something a little different.
Yeah, this is just, let's bring it back.
Yep.
I'm with you, obviously.
It's
I didn't
so
put it at
good.
one because I haven't experienced it.
It's so
But
good.
I'm sure if I had experienced it, I would be up there.
Probably, 6 or 7 times when I was little. And then that one time, I can't even guess, 2016 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look it up when it came back, and that's a small window of time we just happened
I
to
thought
be
for
there.
sure we were getting it back when they started selling that parade, when they sold the Main Street Electrical Parade shirts from Disneyland. They were selling them, the button-ups, in Disney World, and I was like, we're getting it.
Yeah.
And then, nope, nothing.
No.
So, my number one is a ride.
And I haven't said it yet?
Correct.
Okay.
It's sort of a ride.
Sort of. Ellen's Energy Adventure.
No.
No.
Magical Express.
Oh, that's a ride, kind of. You're taking a ride. It's the first Disney ride you take.
So this is multiple stuff that needs to come back, okay? Not just the bus, the service, because the service part of this was the huge part. Service here, the amount of time saved, the amount of, like, I get it. This is not something that was cheap for Disney. I 100% understand that it's expensive, right? It's something I would even pay an upcharge for. Now, I don't want them to, but like, I would pay an upcharge for it. Not a ton, because at that point I might as well just get a private car. But the ability to, when you walked off the plane, when you checked your bags in, for us, Buffalo, but when you checked your bags at the airport, you put that yellow tag on, and you knew, I don't have to do anything.
Yep.
I don't touch that bag until tonight when I get back to my room, and it's sitting on the bed at my hotel room in Disney World. And oh, by the way, at the end of the trip, I'm going to take that same bag, put a new tag on it, bring it down to the front desk. This was at some of them, not all of them. Bring it down to the front desk for airport transfer. There you go. Head off to the parks and not have to touch your bag. Not have to worry about it getting checked.
Great.
None of that. You don't have to worry about it. Man, I miss that. That part especially. The bus ride, whatever. Although the video, it's kind of cool, right? They show the video.
I like
and
the
you're
bus ride.
Like, oh, yay. But yeah, I like the bus ride too. I don't like it as much as my private car service that cost me obviously a lot more. But
Or the limo that we got
that's true. Yeah.
on accident.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number one is a ride, but it's a different thing. It's a ride to and from.
Sure.
So on the way there, it's the Magical Express. On the way home, it's the Tragical Express.
Mm-hmm.
It's like tears as you're getting on that to go back. But I will say this. I think that if it's an upcharge, they would have to do it a lot quicker, because there are times that you could wait 45 minutes or more waiting for your bus. But that's my list. And this was actually shockingly not as of much of a disaster as I was like.
No.
When we first said like we were kind of all over the place, because there are things like, for me, service things is what I want brought back. For you, attractions are what you want to see brought back.
Right.
But I know that you have more, because I can see you looking at
I do.
a long list.
Yeah. So I actually had to call my mother about one of these.
Go ahead.
Because we talked about this for a while. So I texted my mom and I said, hey, give me a call. I said, I have a Disney question for you. She calls me up. She doesn't go with us anymore. Like, I think she's Disneyed out, and that's fine. We offer every time we go. We're like, Mom, come with us, and she's like, No, I'm good, and that's fine. I love my mom, but we always offer just in case. So I called her and I said, did we ever do River Country? And she goes, yeah, it was in the back of the park over by like the Thunder Mountain ride. I said, no, that's Tom Sawyer. She goes, oh yeah, that is Tom Sawyer. You did that. I go, no, River Country was a water park. She goes, the only water park I remember doing is Typhoon Lagoon. I said, yeah, we did Typhoon Lagoon, but do you remember one that was kind of over by, it's sort of by this, but I told her it was over by kind of like the campgrounds. Yeah. That's how I referred to it to her. I mean, it was in that general area.
Yeah.
And I said, I think there's a picture, and I don't remember going there, and I remember most of this, but I think there's a picture of me somewhere on something that looks like it's part of River Country. So maybe I didn't go, so I couldn't really put this on my list. But I think they could make another, smaller water park. So my idea was they're looking at adding, what was it called? The Reflections was going to be that resort they were going to put over in that general area, right? What if they create a resort that has a mini water park that's River Country?
Could they call it, they could call it Beach Club, and instead of calling it River Country, no, I'm just kidding. They could, no, literally, there's already the reason that people want to go to Beach Club and Yacht Club.
Because it's the best water play area.
There's no reason they couldn't build another massively popular pool.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, for those of you who are like, why did he make that joke about Beach Club? Trust me, if you've stayed at Beach Club or Yacht Club and you've been in that pool,
it's like its own little mini resort.
It's ridiculous. It's amazing.
So imagine Reflections as they were going to build it, themed around Bambi and some of those characters, but then also next to it is this. And I think if it was a DVC property, which they were talking about doing, if you're a DVC buyer, most likely as you're a Disney fan, and you're probably going to remember River Country. You didn't go there,
but I know what you
know
mean.
what it is.
Yeah.
But I think about how much that would sell that resort, especially the DVC people, knowing that it's Reflections featuring River Country. Think about how well that would sell. And all that is to be is, a slightly larger pool, a lazy river, and some of the things similar to the original River Country.
Yeah, I mean,
Wouldn't that be cool?
I can't hate on it. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea.
Anyway, I won't spend too much time on that.
No, that's a good idea.
I thought that would be cool to bring
that
back.
Idea.
I really liked when they did Alien Encounter.
Yep.
And that area is just sitting vacant, and we've talked about that. I think you could bring that back and make it purposefully a scary ride. And I mean, it's just sitting there. Everything's ready to go. The technology's there.
There's got to be
bring it back.
A bigger story there.
I
don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. Maybe it's asbestos or something. I'm not sure. Yeah. What else I had? I had the Rainbow Tunnel. I want the Rainbow Tunnel to come back.
I almost guarantee you.
That'll probably come back.
Yep.
I still think, again, this is a hot take for another show, but I think with the popularity of Inside Out 2, you're going to see that maybe taking over Imagination Pavilion. And if so, it is what it is. Horizons. So the pavilion where Horizons is now nothing. I mean, it was a festival space for a while. They had the Horizons ride. This is in Epcot, by the way. Horizons was a ride, original opening day ride at Epcot. They had this ride called Horizons. They had Body Wars, and they had something else in there too. I can't remember what the other one was. And Horizons was sort of like, again, looking into the future of, and I actually watched the ride through with my wife earlier this week, and we watched the ride through of it, and she goes, I don't remember this ride. And there were some things I did remember from it, but I don't know. Bottom line is there needs to go something in there.
Yeah, I mean,
you could bring back Horizons again, and again, it'll appeal to the nostalgic crew, and you just talk about the future of, dwelling and home and all that. And then the other one that was great, but I don't want it to change, is Maelstrom was awesome. That was a great ride, but I don't want Frozen to go away because that's great too. So I didn't really officially put it on my list. It was just something I liked. Oh, I did have one more too. Skyliner in the parks. Because they used to have the Skyliner that went from the Tangled bathrooms and then kind of over into that Tomorrowland Speedway area over there. And I remember doing that when I was little. But the only thing I think is a drawback of that, but then I thought of a solution for it. I thought the drawback would be there's a lot of people that are unkind and idiots these days, and they're going to chuck stuff out of there, spit on people, right? You can see it happening. But then I thought of our current Skyliner cars. You can't do that at all. So if you have the current Skyliner style cars and you can navigate the park that way, and then I finally ended this thought, and I'm kind of relaying how my thought process worked with this one. I ended with, I think it might be too much in the park. Like that's too much stuff, too much movement, too much, what do they call it? The kinetic movement visually. So then I thought, you know where they would need it? In a different park, throw it in Hollywood Studios, because there's already a Skyliner coming in. Do one that goes from one end of the park to the other. I don't know.
I mean, you
could do a little mini one.
You're not wrong. I think there's room for that in the park somewhere. One park. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't.
Just thoughts. No official ones as part of 1 through 5, but
yeah,
this is kind of what I thought of when I was putting together this list.
Yeah. I'm glad we kind of took a totally different direction with this. When I said what things went away that we want back, Rob went with rides and attractions, and we overlapped on one because there is an attraction, obviously, with Main Street Electrical Parade that we both want.
Oh,
I went with mostly with perks, things that I wanted back. Some of these things they've slowly brought back. Citizens of Hollywood, Citizens of Main Street, Dapper Dan's. Those things went away. Even the cars, like the transportation on Main Street was away for a while. It came back. Some of the entertainment in Epcot went away. It's coming back. So, I think they're on their way, but some of the stuff I don't think they were looking for a reason to get rid of it, and now it's gone.
Well, I think part of the reason they don't have the electrical parade is the crowd is there to see the nighttime show. What the heck is it called now?
Happily Ever After?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's all that traffic for that.
Mm-hmm.
What if they put that at Hollywood Studios right down Main Street?
That would be, honestly, it would be great in Hollywood Studios, to be perfectly honest.
Because, they kind of do. Actually, what was cool is when they did that Star Wars nighttime show. That was really cool.
I saw that.
But Electrical Parade, I think, would keep people there longer and give them a reason to stay till close.
Fantasmic's pretty good.
That's true.
So.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It would have to go before, or the people that don't get into Fantasmic, because not everybody's going to fit in there.
Heck, while we're at it, why not just put it in Epcot and have it do a loop around World Showcase?
That'd be cool too.
Because that's an earlier fireworks show over at Epcot.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, that was a good one. I had fun. This is my last. Is this the last episode? No. This is the last episode that will release before I am gone on my trip. Mm-hmm. So when we get back, in 2 weeks, we'll have some trip reports. If you're a Patreon member, we're going to do a little preview, I think, of our trip coming up. So, but thank you guys so much for sticking with us. If you like subtle Disney teas, by the way, we haven't mentioned it in a while, but magicmerch.art, go check those out. And if you want to learn about patreon.com/DizListPod, we also have a bunch of stuff over there. And Rob got excited about something.
I didn't tell you. I put one up the other day.
I saw you put some of the Inside Out 2 face characters up.
I have to finish it off, but we're making a group shirt series with all the different faces.
Yeah. So
maybe by the time they listen, more will be added. But
I did see that. So they turned out well. So magicmerch.art, you can go check that out. You can also check them out over at magicmerch77.etsy.com. Just depends on what you want to shop at. And then patreon.com/DizListPod. You can follow us for free. You'll be notified whenever we post stuff and when new episodes come out. And if you so choose, you could always, for about the price of a cup of coffee a month, get some new episodes or extra episodes and early access to new ones. So thank you very much. It's been a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.